Good morning, Dave in the AM, aka the Cornbread Man, your host this morning for the Cornbread Man Morning Show. Hey, was up late last night doing shows. I went to bed for a few hours. We're back at it again today. This evening, we will have on the video side our Southern Fried Racing Hour with Dean and James, our co-host. And we'll be talking about the Michigan race. What an amazing race that was. If you like NASCAR, and we do, the SFP, or Southern Fried Racing Hour, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may try to podbean that one live. We haven't been doing that. We've been recording, going live and then pushing it over to Podbean. We might try to do that. I think everybody's going to be in the studio tonight. Hey, good morning to you. This is Tuesday. It's 5:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Late last night, things were not as confrontational as they had been, at least for the most part. But just to make sure that this is clamped down, the president is sending another 2,000 National Guardsmen to LA. This is including the 2,000 or so that were there or en route, for a grand total of 4,100 National Guardsmen. And late last night, the bus is carrying 700 Marines to the area. So things are fixing to get real for people on the ground. And the gentleman they were looking for, Pam Bondi, told Hannity last night on his show live, they had identified him and were actively executing search warrants for him. The one who was seen on video attempting to hurt authorities. They know his name and they know where he has been living. I'm not sure if they have secured him yet, but I know they're actively, and they said they will get him. Stiff charges for those who are the ringleaders of this, or those who bring violence or spit on the authorities, for those that are spitting and things like that. Maximum of 5 years. Will be sitting in jail for a while, convicted. And the ones who are causing some of this uproar and or injuring officers, destruction of federal property, could see upwards of 25 years in federal prison. They better think about it. 700 Marines en route to Los Angeles to quell this uprising. It's in its third day. This battalion of Marines, generally a range of 300 to 1,200, would be sent. But for now, the Insurrection Act is not expected to be invoked. We were headed there. I believe we were within hours of it. The authorities, even though they are blaming the administration, are starting to talk with a different tone, meaning they're not calling everything just a protest, that they are now admitting that their city has been burning, that there are things on fire, violence, destruction, mayhem, although they want to say it's just a few, that most people are just peacefully protesting. That's not what people see. But there you go. There was cause for arrest of Governor Newsom and even Mayor Bass. They started changing their tone, even though they said, arrest us, arrest us. In the case of Governor Newsom, he specifically called out for to be arrested. What is their end game here? Well, maybe several things. One is to try to make themselves look like the hero to those people who are illegal, and maybe their own base, to the leftist ideology. Two, to attack the president, his administration, to make them look like the jackboots in this situation. With a third, and connected to number two, consequence, the midterms, which are coming in 2026. Everything rests on that. They know they can't obviously become, their party cannot rise to the occasion of becoming commander in chief for more than 3 years from now, but the midterms they can work for and try to take the slim margin that the Republicans have away. Everything is focused on that. Governor Newsom for some time has been rumored to be a presidential nominee. That has not materialized. Mayor Bass, fresh off of her failure to appear while the fires were going on in LA, has now found herself on the wrong side of the situations again, defending the worst of the worst, those with criminal records. As the Border Czar Tom Homan said, these people are bad people that we're coming after. People that rape, people that rob, people that injure, people that steal, commit fraud. The list of charges are long. These are the people they're defending. They're calling them Angelenos, as if they are already citizens. A sanctuary city. That these people will be protected by them against the authorities. They've placed themselves between illegal activities and the federal government. That is not a good place to be. But that's where we're at on this Tuesday, early. The Marines and the National Guardsmen are being backed up by the Marines. We'll clear the streets, and we'll clear these ones that are committing mayhem and destruction of property and attacking local authorities, officials for the police department, who, by the way, that the governor and mayor said that could more than adequately handle the situation. It didn't look like that. As we've seen police cars on fire, windows busted out, and we saw them rolling out of the area very quickly, being ran out is what it looked like. Not to say they can't maybe rise to the occasion, but maybe they weren't encouraged to rise to the occasion. Do they have the authority to do what needs to be done? I sincerely doubt it, to be honest. The Pentagon, for its part, have drafted rules for the Marines and possible use of force in LA. Things are moving very quickly, so they were scrambling to get these things in place. People want to know. And it is very rare that the military has had to use force against American citizens on American soil, or people who are on American soil. Some of these are not American citizens. So we need to be clear about that. Some of these are illegals. They're not American citizens. Some are. The U.S. Northern Command said it's sending 700 Marines into the Los Angeles area to protect federal property and personnel, including federal immigration agents who have been attacked. The 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, are coming from 29 Palms, California, and will augment about now 4,100 National Guard soldiers responding. These forces have been trained in de-escalation, crowd control, and standing rules for the use of force, Northern Command said. But the use of active duty forces still raises difficult questions. Yes. The Marines are highly trained in combat and crisis response, with time in conflict zones like Syria and Afghanistan, which is obviously starkly different from the roles they will face now. They could potentially be hit by protesters carrying gas canisters and have to quickly decide how to respond or face decisions about protecting an immigration enforcement agent from crowds. According to U.S. officials, troops will be armed with their normal service weapons, but will not be carrying tear gas. They also will have protective equipment such as helmets, shields, and gas masks. When troops are overseas, how they respond to threats is outlined by the rules of engagement. At home, they are guided by standing rules for use of force, which have to be set and agreed to by Northern Command, and then each Marine should receive a card explaining what they can do and cannot do, another U.S. official said. For example, according to an article this morning on Newsmax, warning shots would be prohibited. according to use of force draft documents viewed by the Associated Press. Marines are directed to de-escalate a situation whenever possible, but also are authorized to act in self-defense, the document said. That's important. What has happened on the ground many times is the crowd, the mob, the rioters, the disruptors, not those ones who are, yes, peacefully protesting, the ones who are turning violent and leading others into violent acts, have had the authorities at a disadvantage. They do about anything they want, while the police are restrained in what kind of force that they can reapply. The Marines will not have that problem. Although it is a tenuous situation, I don't think anybody wants to see carnage of bodies laid in the streets. But self-defense is self-defense. There could be that person who pushes the envelope, as they say, and will act as an example to others of what not to do. This is very possible. Very, very possible. The Associated Press reviewed documents and interviewed 9 U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss details not yet public about the guidelines being determined for the Marines. The Pentagon is working on a memo with clarifying language for the Marines that will lay out the steps they can take to protect federal personnel and property. Those guidelines also include specifics on the possibility that they could temporarily detain civilians if troops are under assault or to prevent harm, the first U.S. official said. Those measures could involve detaining civilians until they can be turned over to law enforcement. Having the Marines deployed to protect federal buildings allows them to be used without invoking the Insurrection Act, one U.S. official said. The Insurrection Act allows the president to direct federal troops to conduct law enforcement functions and national emergencies, but the use of that act is extremely rare. Officials said that has not yet been done in this case, and that it's not clear it will be done. Former President H.W. Bush used the Insurrection Act to respond to riots in Los Angeles in 1992 after the acquittal of white police officers who were videotaped beating black motorist Rodney King. If their role expands, if the violence escalates, it is not clear under what legal authority they would be able to engage, said Elizabeth Goyton, a senior director of the Liberty and National Security Program at the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law. Quote, if in fact those Marines are laying hands on civilians doing searches, then you have pretty powerful legal concerns, end quote, Goyton said. Quote, no statutory authority Trump has invoked so far permits this, end quote. Yeah, but he could, if the Insurrection Act is instituted, that would open that up. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth tweeted late Saturday that he was considering deploying the Marines to respond to the unrest after getting advice earlier in the day from General Dan Kane, director of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, according to one U.S. official. Still, the tweet, which was posted to Hegseth's personal X account and not to his official government account, caught many inside the Pentagon by surprise. As late as Monday, the military's highest officers were still considering the potential ramifications. But the Marine Corps were asking broader questions too. Do they send more senior, experienced personnel so as not to put newer, less experienced troops at risk of potentially making a judgment call on whether to use force against a civilian? What's lawful under a domestic deployment, where troops may end up in a policing role, is governed by the Fourth Amendment in the U.S. Constitution, which forbids seizure of persons, including temporarily restraining them, unless it could be considered reasonable under the circumstances. Troops under federal authorities are in general prohibited from conducting law enforcement on U.S. soil under the Pose Comitatus Act. So we will see. The rules of engagement may change, and as long as things begin to calm, I believe the Marines, in this case, will be used in a supporting role. It seems to be the indication, and only used if needed. My thoughts on this and predictions, if they're needed, it's escalating out of control and would probably be leading to the act being instituted. At that point, things would be very ugly on the ground, I would think. I don't think anybody wants to see that, but you can't have people taking over a city. You can't have property, people, other things being destroyed. So again, getting the worst of the worst actors out of the way is crowd control for mob control. The National Guard, the local police can more than handle getting those people out of the crowd and arrested. And the government officials can work on the local officials and lay, quote unquote, the law down and say, you need to tap down on the rhetoric and get control here. You say you want control, we'll start taking control. Because early on, for 2 days, they didn't take control. They were saying things that were inciting to riot, seemingly to me. And their language has changed with the potential thought of possibility of arrest as things escalated, as their city was beginning to burn in different areas and the problem was rising. The messaging changed, although still blaming the administration, blaming President Trump for the actions of the immigration officials, ICE. And now we're just waiting to see if all of this takes effect. In the evening, the crowds begin to assemble thicker. During the mornings, not as much. It's typical. But again, identifying those that are ringleaders behind this and removing them is paramount to any crowd control. Locking up people in mass can lead to worse difficulties. President Trump, for his part, said that Governor Newsom should be arrested. Pardon me. And even the governor has said, arrest me. On Monday, the president said, quote, I would do it if I were Tom, meaning Tom Homan, the border czar. I think it's great. Gavin likes the publicity. But I think it would be a great thing. He's done a terrible job. I like Gavin Newsom. He's a nice guy, but he's grossly incompetent. Everybody knows. All you have to do is look at the little railroad he's building. It's about 100 times over budget. Now, this is the railroad to nowhere, which has spent billions and never been completed. Newsom was quick to respond to the ominous Trump statement in a post on X. Newsom called Trump's remarks, quote, a line we cannot cross as a nation, and warned they mark, quote, an unmistakable step towards authoritarianism. In his remarks, Trump also said people who are violently protesting and causing damage should be jailed. The people that are causing the problems are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. He additionally said those who spit on our police and or military will be hit back and hit harder than they could ever imagine. So, amazing times. Amazing times. All of this is because ICE agents showed up to deport illegals who, according to the authorities, were violent. They weren't going after people who had overstayed visas, people who crossed over families, but they were going after the bad people. They were going after people with records, people who had known records for committing violence. But this is a very heavily populated area with a mixture of people, different peoples, a lot of them immigrants, of course, a lot of Hispanics. So it's an area that has saw uprisings before. There's a lot of gangs as well. There's things that can happen. It could escalate very quickly. I think it's a good move. They can say local officials can say all they want about the president's move here, but it was escalating out of control. They were not getting control of it. In fact, they were the agitators themselves. Speaking of Governor Newsom, speaking of Mayor Bass, speaking of Senator Maxine Waters, even local sheriffs had said, this is embarrassing for some of the things that are being said by Kamala Harris and others. And so here we go. Maybe today, the arrival of the full capacity, at this point, 4,100 National Guardsmen, 700 Marines, will begin to put some controls in place, start closing off some areas and pushing these people back, getting the worst of the worst out of there, arrested on charges, and then hopefully have people, faith leaders, others, community leaders, start talking this crowd down. This is a fluid situation which could change very quickly. But we have the resources in place now that the authorities could act quickly. President Trump, for his part, sorry, I got a frog in the throat this morning. Just had to have my morning cup of coffee. That's what it is. It's brewing. President Trump, in remarks, said that LA officials were afraid to act on widespread riots. Some of the things you're reading about in Los Angeles, President Trump said in his opening remarks at a roundtable with business CEOs at the White House, where they discussed a plan to create a new savings account for children born between January 1st, 2025 to January 1st, 2029, with a one-time deposit of $1,000 from the federal government. Quote, "Thank goodness we sent out some wonderful National Guard," end quote. Trump said in comments that aired live on Newsmax 2 streaming platform. "They've really helped a lot of problems that we're having out there. They were afraid to do anything, and we sent out the troops, and they've done a fantastic job, so I want to thank them very much." A day after Trump deployed California's National Guard to Los Angeles over the objections of Democrats such as Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass, who have insisted they have the situation in hand, LA Police Chief Jim McConnell reportedly admitted his officers were, quote, "overwhelmed by the scale of the riots." Well, as we all saw the video, their officers retreated in mass. They were not handling the situation. I'm sure, like most police departments across the country, they are understaffed. In one local city, nowhere near the size of LA, I know for a fact we're running about 100 short. They can't get enough candidates in the academy, the police academy, where in our local area, 40 to 50 would usually join each class of academy to bring potential new officers. They're lucky to have 10 to 15. And of course, all those don't make it. They don't make the grade. This is after the attack on police departments, the burning down of police stations. A lot of officers retired that were of retirement age. And people that would typically want to become police officers chose other professions. They didn't believe they would be supported. They didn't want to be caught up in the middle of the violence that was being allowed to be perpetrated against them, understaffed. Facing mobs and being prosecuted at every turn, the threats of arrest. When they have to use force, being brought up on charges. Instead of the criminals facing charges, the officers have been. And right, they should if they were inept in doing their job and broke procedures and things like that. We're not suggesting they can fire with impunity, but this has happened across the United States. It was an ongoing attack upon local police forces who are understaffed, underpaid, and not supported. And yet you say these are the ones that have control of the situation. You have caused them not to be able to have control, Mayor Bass and others like you across the country. This is a problem in the cities. They were overwhelmed by the scale of the riots, which have continued for 4 straight days in response to ISIS crackdown on the illegal immigrants. In September 2020, after the widespread nationwide riots sparked by the death of George Floyd, Trump said in an ABC News town hall, "Look, we have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't call in the National Guard unless we were requested by a governor." Trump was asked later in the roundtable why he didn't consult with Newsom before activating the national troops in this case. Quote, "Well, the biggest change from that statement is we have an incompetent governor So I talked about governors, but I didn't talk about he's an incompetent governor. Trump said, referring to Newsom. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. Later in the day, the Pentagon ordered about those 700 Marines to be deployed to Los Angeles. It's lucky for the people in Los Angeles and in California that we did what we did, Trump said. We got it just in time. It's still simmering a little bit, but not very much. So things are beginning to de-escalate quite a bit. And I suspect that it will. I don't think anybody wanted to see uh, things escalate. God bless you, God's gift. Love the name. We definitely need to pray for our leaders, pray for the situation. And we need citizens and or those who are not citizens to keep children out of this zone. There was the images of the very young child, some I even called a baby, that got hit in the face with tear gas. Keep children out of this. What are you doing? Do not take children into this kind of a zone. Things can happen quickly, even with the firing, throwing of bricks, rubber bullets, tear gas, flash bombs, and the like. This is no place for children to be. Must use better sense than that. Be a parent first. Don't be in the streets, either to be a part of the watching gallery or actively partaking in demonstration against the local police force and federal forces with baby in tow. This is Parent 101 common sense. Apparently, some do not have. I hope this child is okay. Does it need someone to protect it better than what it's being protected? Remove the children, take them to safety. You don't have to be in that area. You do not have to be there. And if you're going to be, let the children be with someone else who are in a safe area. Do not understand that whatsoever. That is incompetence. It's a dereliction of duty as a parent to be taking your children into a situation like that. This is not something that was thrust upon you. You've made a choice and a decision to be there. Remove the children. I don't see how anybody on either side of this discussion, however people feel about it, you may be fully for those resisting the federal authorities. That's fine, but can we not agree that children should not be in that situation? If anybody can't agree with that statement, I don't even know how to talk to you. I wouldn't even know how to reason with you. I think we all, and of course, we know that there's violence being perpetrated against the children in our nation from many areas with human trafficking, drugs, battery, all sorts of things that we need to get a handle on in this nation and protect the children. But we need people that will be smart and understand how to take care of children too. Now, granted, anyone could come up on something and not know what's going on. I'm pretty astute at seeing problem, big crowd, big problems, confrontation. I'll go the other way and remove my children to safety. That makes sense to me. This is the Cornbread Man Morning Show. We will see you tomorrow. Don't forget, we have a morning show at 6 a.m. The Patriot Morning Show on our other channels. I may live stream on Podbean. We may do that. We'll see if we can get it set up. 6 a.m. We'll see you tomorrow. It's another short, quick newscast in the morning to get your day started. Typically at 5 a.m. Typically. It could be at 5:30. It depends on the day. But we'll always try to advertise for it and get it up and let you see that. Thank you for your support. You may be hearing this on many platforms. Podbean feeds most of our other MP3 sites, of which is Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many others. Podchaser. We also are on Spreaker, but we load those up separately. Have a great day. God bless. God bless America. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.